Hello, welcome. I just watched an awesome YouTube video. I was browsing my YouTube homepage and I clicked on this video by creator Todd Boyer because I thought he had a Snapchat filter on his face in the thumbnail. And upon realizing that no, this guy was just blessed with a shockingly smooth face and supple, slender features, I was struck with a much more important observation. This man is Australian. As an Aussie boy myself, I could not let a fellow content creator go unexplored. So I went to see what kind of videos he was making, and then I froze upon coming face to face with this absolutely heart-stopping thumbnail. I've mentioned Round the Twist once before on my channel, and aside from that, I have never heard a word spoken about this show outside of my own family, let alone on social media. Already so damn hot, holy shit. As this awesome guy will tell you, Round the Twist is a show where an Australian family, four main characters, Tony, Pete, Linda, and Bronson Twist, all move into a lighthouse in a small seaside town, and various, usually paranormal shenanigans take place, from ghosts to a TV remote that works on people and probably gave someone an engorgement fetish, if you know, you know, take place. Each more traumatizing for children than the last. There's no water, there's a fidget cube in here. If you want to know what the show is like, generally, to gain some perspective, the episode that Todd's video was about features a storyline in which the youngest of the family swallows a fish, which goes inside his his wiener, and spins around real fast, and it serves as a sort of propeller to make him a prodigy swimmer, and he uses it to win a swimming contest. This show is for kids, did I mention that? Anyway, I obviously immediately watched this whole video 3 times and left a supportive comment, and then when I went to see if Todd Boyer had uploaded any sequels about the many other equally insane episodes of this show and came up empty-handed, I decided, fuck it, I'll do it myself. By the way, check out his channel since I'm literally stealing his idea, and also because anyone who grew up watching this show deserves heavy compensation. With that out of the way, today I will be talking about the Season 1 episode Know All. Since my childhood, this episode was and remains one of my favorites, mainly because of the existentially horrifying questions it raises, seemingly by accident, but we'll get into that later. Being Season 1, the episode features, in my opinion, the best cast. Round the Twist lasted for 4 seasons, and because it featured young actors, the characters were recast a few times. I'm most offended over the recasting of the dad, Tony, and his love interest and later wife, Faye, because their 2 actors combined were personally my bisexual awakening, but whatever. I will say that for Season 2, they actually let an Aboriginal actress play a main character and love interest, which is rare today, let alone for the time, so I'll give them points for that, I guess. Enough of my personal childhood grievances and sexual confusions, let's talk about the episode. Like many episodes before and after it, Know All features a ghost storyline, while pretty much every episode features some kind of supernatural phenomena, sometimes leaning more sci-fi or explicitly mythical, but that's about it in terms of variation. The rules that Round the Twist ghosts operate under are pretty vague. They tend to have whatever magical abilities the story needs them to have at any given moment, and most of the time they aren't malicious, but will cause conflict due to misunderstanding or just by nature of their existence. Ghost doesn't mean much within the Round the Twist universe beyond some kind of manifestation or phenomena left by a human or animal that is no longer alive, which I guess is about as vague as the extreme variation that is the human race's collective perception of the metaphysical in the real world, so sure, I guess the only difference is that ghosts actually exist in the Round the Twist universe, so you'd think there'd be clearer rules on how they work, but I digress. The ghosts this episode is about speak to my heart particularly strongly because they are circus clowns, and I myself have quite the affinity for a good clown. They're terrifying, as we will get into with the upcoming analysis portion, but definitely solidly enjoyable guys. It also features Tony Twist in somewhat culturally insensitive drag. Did I mention my bisexual awakening yet? The episode opens by introducing Tony's new sculpture. I didn't mention this, but he's a sculptor by profession, and several episodes involve his artwork. The piece is, as best I can tell, a vague commentary on gender or something, but more importantly, it involves a mannequin, which is a detail that will be important later. In the next scene, the kids see a chest floating out at sea. Naturally, since this show takes place in a seaside town, a lot of episodes revolve around some random spooky shit washing up on the beach. And coincidentally, it fits with the theme the show has going of explaining literally nothing. For example, the episode Copycat, which features a Mongolian hat with unexplained powers that are never elaborated on, that also just washes up on the beach, and we never get an explanation as to why it works the way it does. I guess we're just supposed to accept that, well, Mongolian people are kind of weird, so they can probably do magic, and move on. This show requires a lot of suspension of disbelief, and I guess a lack of cultural sensitivity in that particular example. Anyway, they pull the big old chest onto the shore and they open it, and it turns out to be full of antique circus costumes. And because they have absolutely no respect for the preservation of historical fashion and have not learned jack shit from previous ghost encounters, the twists immediately start fucking around and put the men's clown outfit on their scarecrow because they're quirky hippies. For most of the episode, Linda dons the women's clown costume, Pete wears this shit, Bronson is a ringmaster, and Tony is a fortune teller. Again, pretty culturally insensitive, but I'll say it, mother. By the way, Pete and Linda are supposed to be 13, and I just wanted to point that out somewhere because it's hilarious. I can't find how old the actors were, but they definitely look my age. You can bet I felt significantly more uncomfortable about several episode premises upon learning this, including but not limited to the one where season 3, I think, Pete gets impregnated by a tree and gives birth through his mouth. Anyway, Linda remarks that the scarecrow looks sad, and Bronson says it looks hungry, and then they all go to bed, and Linda has a spooky dream about the lady clown whose clothes she's just taken into her room, I guess. Which somehow does not discourage her from continuing to wear the clothes the next day. Mother Tony Twist comes into her room, and she wakes up from the spooks, and she tells him that the lady clown's name is Elspeth, and she can't stop thinking about her. This is never explained. The next day, they're all still fucking around with the costumes, and Tony can now tell the future. This is also never explained. It is at this point that we are introduced to the show's villains, or more specifically, just one of them, because his family is just mysteriously absent from this episode. Harold Gribble. The Gribbles are essentially all just a bunch of rich, liberal, centrist grifters who are always very close to becoming explicit political commentary but never quite get there. Harold Gribble claims to be a proponent of the Progressive Conservative Party, I think in later seasons, and is repeatedly shown to only invest in a cause if he believes it will earn him public favor or money. In other words, he's a coward to a satirical degree, and his main character trait is being a beta cuck with no nuances or redeeming qualities who we hate, and so are his wife and offspring. The characters in this show are pretty much all extremely one note, but none more so than the villains. Anyway, Mr. Gribble is here with this cowboy, who would probably call me a slur, because his main role, especially in season 1, is to show up for 1 or 2 scenes per episode trying to buy the lighthouse and inexplicably bear witness to some shenanigans. The Gribbles are like kind of the straight man, but also we're supposed to laugh at them for being dumb capitalists and not woke hippies like the Twists. Harold is mainly comic relief in this episode, but he does provide the sole service of being able to conveniently distract Tony, Bronson, and Pete, who entertain him with circus tricks, while Linda can go and ponder the scarecrow alone. She needs to be alone, that way the show is able to confront young children with solitude in the face of unknowable terrors and give them nightmares. So, yes, anyway, the scarecrow has human man eyes now, assumedly connected to the fact that it is wearing a dead person's clown outfit from the bottom of the ocean in a universe where ghosts are clearly established to exist many times. Then Faye, Tony's love interest, shows up and is affected by his irresistible gender. She is not that important to this episode, but she asks Tony on a date, and also to borrow his sculpture from the beginning for a vague feminism seminar she's doing, I guess, that never gets brought up again. Then Tony says it's going to rain, and he and the kids all go inside while the evil capitalists get owned by the elements. The kids are worrying that they're gonna need to move if Harold illegitimately sells the lighthouse to Texas Man, but Tony is unbothered and mysteriously says there's nothing to worry about, and then decides he wants his sculpture back. Faye and feminism will have to cope. I guess the implication is that Mr. Gribble and his clients are going to get scared off by clown shenanigans later in the episode, so they won't want to buy the lighthouse anymore. While he's off doing that, Pete, Bronson, and Linda are compelled to go look at the scarecrow again and notice that it's standing in a different position to when they last looked at it. The boys go ask Nell what to do, and Linda stays with the clown scarecrow because she has not learned shit from seeing its man eyes. Oh, you're wondering who Nell is? You're having trouble with all the characters I'm introducing? I'd expect that of you. However, because I'm feeling specifically generous, Nell is this old lesbian that came with the lighthouse when the fam moved in. She basically exists to be old and somehow know everything about every ghost and its backstory, because I guess that's just what old people do. She's great and easily my favorite character. She exists in a purgatorial state of having no focal episodes but simultaneously being way smarter than every other character, and we just have to accept that she's lived a wild life even if it is never elaborated on. There is an air of contemplative, tranquil superiority to her that I respect immensely. Cut back to Linda and the Scarecrow, where she is confirming her suspicions that it does in fact move while not being observed. After a sequence that the Weeping Angels wish they were, where the Scarecrow just poses a few times when she isn't looking, it completely just comes to life with no shame and chases her ass. You can bet this scared me shitless as a kid. I turned my fan off for this recording. I hope you're grateful. Linda arms herself with a tennis racket and then follows the straw footprints that the clown scarecrow has just left all around the lighthouse. There's a suspenseful chase scene where at one point it grabs her ankle from under a piece of furniture in a classic jump scare move, giving childhood me, who slept on a mattress on the floor, significantly more reasons to be afraid of raised bed frames. The clown performs acts of clownery and is sad that no one witnesses it. As we all know, clowns are a social species who benefit from applause, and it is cruel to keep one without companionship. Meanwhile, the boys find Nell fishing like the old butch queen she is, and she fulfills her role as the only person who knows how the fuck ghosts work in this universe, and tells them off for wearing the clothes, saying vaguely that they have strange powers. Okay, queen. She says that the two clowns were in love and that the whole circus got fucking wrecked in a storm, but only after man clown got dumped by lady clown, who then left the circus and I guess died in unrelated circumstances. You keeping up? No? Rewind the video then, bitch. I don't care about your viewing experience. Nell is alarmed when she learns that Linda is alone with the clown scarecrow dressed as his lover for obvious reasons. Cut back to the lighthouse where the scare clown has by this point nearly completed his metamorphosis into full clown, the straw having melted away to reveal a flesh interior. Horrifying, thanks. Linda runs outside and she meets Nell and the boys, who tell her to take off the costume, which she does, and then the clown realizes she's not Elspeth and has an existential crisis. Then Tony gets back with his sculpture and they dress the mannequin in Elspeth's costume, which brings her to life in the same manner as the scarecrow. I was a bit unsure as to whether this particular necromantic ritual qualifies as possession or a slightly more intrusive form of reincarnation, so I called my friend, who is a psychic professionally as well as a mortician. I worked with her, I did an internship with her at a mortuary, and I got to touch dead people. Anyway, she seemed very confused, but ultimately confirmed that it seems more like possession, and also validated me further by saying it didn't seem reminiscent of any cultural beliefs in the real world that she could think of. This was a real relief because I'd spent the entire morning Googling phrases like possession as reincarnation, gradual reincarnation through possession, autism test free no sign up, all to no avail, and was feeling pretty defeated, and then she told me she was late for work and hung up. I couldn't find much literary basis for the idea of essentially complete reincarnation through possession of a body or object. There is something to be said for the idea that a spirit can, like, gradually gain power by sapping someone's life energy during a possession, ostensibly making a possession worse the longer it's left untreated. The thing about that, though, is that is very much a bad thing. That's not a happy ending. The episode ends with the twist driving Elspeth and unnamed man clown to a stock image of a circus tent, returning the rest of the clothes to the two of them, and then unleashing them on the unsuspecting circus employees, after which I guess we're just supposed to assume or hope that they all lived happily ever after. So, what exactly was gonna happen if the twist kept wearing the clothes? Is anyone gonna talk about that? Because I have some questions. Firstly, we can't ignore the fact that the clothes were beginning to take effect on their human wearers in the episode. Sure, it was slower than it was for the Scarecrow and Mannequin, but I'm assuming that's just because taking over an autonomous being which already has a soul is probably harder than taking over a Scarecrow. Time constraints aside, though, Tony could literally tell the future. Clearly something was happening. The events of this episode very much lead me to believe that had the twists not returned the clothes to the two clowns, their physical bodies would have horrifically morphed into reconstructions of the other dead circus performers who would then live on in their stead, not to mention the fact that the episode ends with Elspeth and unnamed man clown walking into a circus of unsuspecting human bodies armed with their barnacle-encrusted Pandora's box of possessed circus drip. Is that supposed to be a happy ending? We know nothing about the identities of the rest of the circus, just that they died in a shipwreck, and I find it hard to believe that the clowns won't try something now that they have an effective method of literal resurrection, as well as a tent full of people willing to try out their vintage fashions. Also, in other episodes featuring possession, there are much clearer rules and limitations. In the season 2 finale episode, Seeing the Light, ghosts are only capable of possessing a human body when lightning strikes. It is instantaneous and temporary, and it definitely does not fundamentally change the chemical and genetic makeup of the subject. The fact that these random dead clowns from the sea are able to just start living as people again with their original bodies is so terrifying and has so many implications. Do souls just, like, not exist in this universe? More terrifyingly, did the souls of the Twist family narrowly avoid entrapment in a hellish limbo for all eternity, trapped within their own non-existence and unable to pass because their bodies never technically died? And if souls don't exist, then what the hell are ghosts? The great thing about this show is that it never answers or even hints at an answer to any of these questions. It dumps its load on you and then rolls credits before you even process what's happening. It throws life-shattering queries of existentialism in your face without so much as an acknowledgement of the philosophical mess it's created, and tells you to cope how you will. And that's why I love it so much. It is obscene, it is absurd, it is too shameless to even call it lazy. It is pure camp. I strongly suggest watching this show. It is honestly such a delight. I'm not doing a bit. I really watch the show. I know you watched this far in the video, you were like, haha, it was fun to watch someone clown on this show. No, you have to watch it. Me recapping this episode does not properly replicate the experience of viewing it, especially for the first time. Watch this episode, watch every episode of the whole show. I will be talking about more episodes though. This isn't one of those things where, oh, if you like this video, yeah, maybe I'll do more in the future. No, I will be doing more in the future. I love this show. I want to talk about it. This is purely for me. As I'm sure many of you know, the world right now is absolute dog shit, and this video was quite lighthearted. I don't want it to seem like I am trying to distract from the horrors in the world right now, but I needed some kind of creative outlet to avoid losing my mind, so I thought I'd just post a short video. I do have a much longer video in the works right now, more in-depth and, you know, fucking analytical and pretentious, kind of reminiscent of my 12th Doctor video that people liked, but with a bigger budget. Because I have a computer now. I don't know if you can... Yeah, I have a computer now. But yeah, so that'll be out at some point. But in the meantime, there will be links in the description if you would like to provide support to Palestinians in need right now. It's very important. Yes, I don't want this lighthearted video to feel like it is ignoring that. We still need to acknowledge it, and that will be in the description for people who feel like they can donate or want to donate or just want to do some research and understand what's going on. That will all be in the description. Stay safe, everybody. It's so stinking fucking hot here. I hate being Australian. And I'm going to end the recording now so I can turn my fan back